Hello everyone, welcome to episode. My name is Amit, and today we are going to see part 3 of Junit plus Mockito series with Spring Boot application. So let's start. In last session, we have seen what is mock and how to use mock for writing the Junit test cases. So those who don't know about the basics of Junit or those who don't know about how to write a Junit test cases for the methods, so please go through part 1 and part 2. Today we are going to write a Junit for REST controller. So let's start. So first, let's see the structure of the project that we have already created in last session. So in last session, we have created the project called as employee management. Inside this, we have employee controller, then employee service IMPL, and then repository and model. We have written the generic test cases for validate method and then for save and delete method, which is present inside the service class. But today, our plan is to write the generic test cases for REST APIs. Okay, so we have here controller. Inside this, we have API called as a add employee, and this API is post. And inside that API, we have a method called as a save employee, which is accepting request body as employee. And then we are calling two methods from employee service called as a validate, and another method is called as a save. Now, when we call this API, definitely this method will get called and it will throw a null pointer exception because this is not a running Spring Boot application. For that, we need to mock this. So these things we already discussed how to mock. Okay, so let's create a mock and let's write a method. Before writing, we need to create a package in src/test/java folder. So create a package called as a controller. That's it. And then create a class called as employee controller test. Now we are good. And here, as you know, we are testing not a method, we are testing here API. So to test API, we need to use one annotation here at the rate web MVC test. Web MVC test. And inside that, we need to provide a class name. So what is the class? Employee controller dot class. That's it. Now we are good here. The next thing is write a method called as public void save employee test. Then provide annotation called as @test. Now we are good. Now the next thing is our plan is to call API. So to call API, we need to use one another class or object variable called as a mock MVC. So this class is provided by Spring, and by using that class or object, we can able to call REST APIs. Okay, so for this we need to use AutoWire. So Spring will inject here that mock MVC object. Now the next thing is we need to mock that employee service IMPL, because as part of that API, this validate and save method, which is present into the service class, will get called. Okay, for this we need to mock these calls and that object. So let's mock it. Employee service IMPL and then @mock bean. So what is the use of mock and why we are going to do the mock? Okay, that we already learned in last part. Those who don't know, please go through that thing. Now the next thing is, if you observe here, we are using @mock bean, but in last session to mock the variable or object, we have used only @mock annotation. So basically the reason behind is we are using here @webMVC test. For webMVC test, we need to use @mock bean because this class is responsible for to test API, not a method. So please use here @mock bean. Now the next thing is mock that mock that method call, which call that validate and save. Let me show you again. Okay, what methods are there? So these are the method validate method and save method. Okay, so let's mock this validate first. So let's mock this validate and save method call using when method. Okay, that all stuff we have already seen in last part. If you don't know, so you can go through this. Okay, so when employee service IMPL dot validate then dot return let's say return true. Now let's mock that another call called as save method, and that save method is void method. So we need to use do nothing here. Okay, so do nothing dot when, use that mock. Okay, when anyone call save method with that employee object. That's it. Now we are good here. Now we are good. Now the next thing is we need to call that API. Which API? This API. So to call that API, we can use mock MVC. Okay, so use that mock MVC. Mock MVC dot, there is a method called as a perform. Inside perform, we need to specify the type of request or that method. So we are going to call post method. Okay, post method. Inside that post method, we need to specify the URL. The URL is add employee. That's it. After this, we need to call content type method. So here the content type is a JSON, right? By default, every API is accepting JSON format in Spring Boot application, and also we are sending here JSON request in JSON format. So for this, there is a method called as a content type. Content type, inside this content type, we need to specify that content type. So here content type is a JSON format. Okay, so define here media type. Okay, dot application underscore JSON. So this is a constant, and by using that constant, the value of that constant is JSON. Now here we have provided the content type. Now after this, the next important thing is body. This is a post API, so we have to pass body. So what is the body here? Employee is a body. Okay, but the thing is, to pass that employee as a body, we need to use one method called as contain. Called as contain. Okay, contained. So here we need to pass the content, but the thing is the content should be in JSON format. But we have object in Java format. It's not a JSON object. So for this, we can use object mapper. It is a util class. By using that class or that object, we can convert this employee into the JSON format or JSON string. So how to do that? It's very simple. Create an object of that object, util object. The name of that object is object mapper. Object mapper O is equal to new object mapper. That's it. Then string JSON request. JSON request is equal to O dot write value as a string and provide here that employee object. So it will convert that employee object in JSON string. That's it. Now we are good here. JSON request and pass that JSON request in body or in content. Now we are good. So here writing or creating a separate object mapper and then passing this JSON request here. Instead of that, we can do one thing, use that object mapper directly, then dot write value as a string and pass that employee object. That's it. Okay, this is also good, or it will work fine. So in that case, we don't need these two things. Now the main thing is we are calling here that employee add slash employee API, but what we are expecting here. So let's see what we are expecting. We are expecting a status called as created. That means 201. That means if we are calling this employee slash employee API, then it will return status called as 201. So for this, we need to call one another method called as dot and expected. Okay, and expected. So let's call this method dot and expected. So what we are expecting? We are expecting status. So there is one another method, static method called as a status. And what we are expecting? We are expecting 201 status called as created. So is created. That's it. Okay, and here we need to throw exception. This is compile time exception. Okay, so JSON parsing exception, because we are using the object mapper, and while converting from object to string, it is throwing compile time exception. Okay, now we are good here. So let's try, or let's run this Junit test case. Right click, run, and then yes, it is working. Okay, it is working because we are expecting 201 is created and we are getting same result. That's it. So in that way, we can write Junit test cases for REST APIs. So before closing that video, let me revise that entire code, that what we done here. Okay. So in that session, we have created one employee controller test class in which we use added MVC test because we are going to test APIs. So in that case, we need to use added MVC test and we need to provide here controller class name. After this, our plan is to call APIs. So to call API, we need a mock MVC. Okay, so we have auto add here mock MVC. Apart from this, we need a mock of employee service IMPL. So we are using added mock bin here. Now we have written one method called as save employee test. Inside this, we have created one dummy employee object. Then we are we mock that methods called as validate and save method. Okay, we mock using the when and do nothing static methods. Then we are using mock MVC to call API. So to call API, we have to use perform method in which we need to provide a type of method and then we need to provide URL. After this, we need to provide a content type. So here we are sending the JSON. So this is the content type. And then we are passing actual request body called as employee in form of JSON. So to convert this thing into the JSON, we are using here object mapper. And then after this, we are expecting 201. Okay, we are expecting here 201 status. For this, we are using this method and expect status dot is created. If it is returning 201, that means our Junit test case will get success. Okay, so that's all about API testing using Junit, and that's all about part 3. So if you like this video, please share and subscribe. Thanks for watching the video.